when we were deciding to choose a subject, that one week I was really very intensely meditating on what's coming in terms of the shift, the golden age, all the prophecies, but particularly feeling the actual energies that have been let loose or starting to descend on the planet. We all know that the Mayans had prophesized a change in the calendar and a new beginning around the 31st of December. Whether or not that meant the shift, but so many people called from their heart and expected that alone is sufficient to bring about some shift, because our expectancy creates our reality. And I don't know if people in such large numbers have called and expected something of this order. Even when on a much smaller scale, if you all remember, they talked about the harmonic convergence in 1987. I think it was August 17th.
August 17th.
Those who are sensitive, they remember there was a shift. There was a going one notch up into more awareness and a movement towards wholeness. And this expectancy is there independently in all spiritual groups. I mean, you're more aware of what's happening here in the Western world. But this expectancy is there in Vedic saints in India and amongst the Sufi saints, Buddhist people, Buddhist scholars and Buddhist spiritual beings. Many of the signs that have been prophesized for this time have also appeared. I remember about 15 or so years ago, there was a news from Seoul, Korea, that certain flowers had been seen on a Kuan Yin statue, golden statue. Those flowers don't exist in the world. They are very special mystical meaning, and they appear only when the return of the Buddha is imminent. The Buddha, according to the Theosophical and esoteric teachings, is actually any 7th degree initiate, initiate of very high order. Which according to these teachings, in our system there's only Christ and the Buddha, 2 7th degree initiates. In the teachings given out in the 30s and 40s through Jolkul, the master Jolkul, much has been given out as to the imminent next awakening that's coming in humanity. Approximate dates have been given, and again there's a prophecy of return of the second coming of Christ, who according to these esoteric teachings is the world teacher, which is an office that is held from anywhere from 2,000 to 4,000 years by each teacher. And Jolkul gave out that the second coming is going to happen, it's imminent, but the ways that energy will appear, that manifestation, that cosmic presence, it can happen through direct incarnation, through overshadowing of an advanced disciple, like that happened in Palestine 2,000 years ago.
Which is?
But according to these teachings, the presence of this cosmic entity Christ descended upon Jesus the disciple. And there are other ways that the master or an initiate higher than the fifth can come, and that is, can just create a body and manifest himself. And Jalkul said that this coming is so powerful that he can come all the three ways. Can incarnate, can overshadow many disciples like did in Palestine 2,000 years ago, maybe more than one. And it's also be said it's going to be more of a group incarnation of that energy. So,
explain that. Group incarnation.
Group incarnation meaning, an example of that is like it was a test, the Theosophical Society, that really was the beginning of the whole New Age movement, and even the term was used by H.P. Blavatsky for the first time, was a group incarnation of Lord Buddha. Meaning that certain chosen disciples in the group were directly overshadowed by Lord Buddha. But the second coming, if the group incarnation happens, or he comes as a group incarnation, there will be a selected number of souls that are prepared, that he will be able to fully overshadow to the same degree that he overshadowed Jesus in Palestine. So the work will be of a much more greater potency than it was the last time. Also, every time a teacher comes, a world teacher, one of the purposes of that world teacher is to awaken one part of consciousness especially, or bring down into everyday consciousness some divine quality that needs to be demonstrated and lived. So when Christ came, he demonstrated divine love lived in everyday life at the common level of human beings for the first time. When Buddha came, that quality was wisdom, rationality, and spirituality. For the first time, asking and demonstrating and giving answers to questions with very rational, very basic answers to spirituality. Like, why do we suffer? Buddhism is only about that. It's just, why do we suffer? And if we didn't suffer, we would be living that truth that we seek through religion, and we would be living, if we found the answer, and we thus enlighten ourselves, attain nirvana, that pure consciousness, then we wouldn't be seeking God, we would be living God. So Buddhism does not concern itself with God, but living that reality and finding the source of what keeps us from living that reality. In the same way, Jalkul has pointed out that mankind is now ready. We have come to that point of mental development that we are ready to awaken the next highest next higher quality. That's a divine quality. That's our destiny to live. And that is so powerful, that quality, that it will literally transform human life. And give us answers to so many questions, so many problems that we have not have answers to. And the next teacher, whether again it's a group incarnation or one teacher appearing and demonstrating that quality. But he said that since we don't have because it's something new, we don't have a name for it. So he describes it in a phrase of many words. And he calls it the principle of divinely directed purpose. Eventually, when we awaken to it and we start living it, then we will have a name for it. But the awakening of that quality is very linked to the awakening and responding to the aspect of pure divine will. Just like there's pure divine love that Christ demonstrated, there's also the pure divine will, which we have never seen in action, demonstrated by a divine being here on a scale that everybody could witness it and observe it. So there will be one or more teachers that will come and live and show that quality. And the part of prophecy that says when he comes back, he comes as a lion. That is the meaning of it. That when the teachers, group incarnation, when that appears, that quality for the first time will be demonstrated. The aspect of divine will. And when that quality functions, it's tremendous power demonstrated. But it's something we have to understand through meditation, not through our thinking, because our thinking, we go to our brain cells trying to understand, we will only come up with personal power, because that's the only power we know. We haven't seen divine power demonstrated. And so all the problems that we see, who has war, which countries are more powerful, once those people appear, that power will have very little meaning, because this power is much more powerful than that power. That is the meaning of when he comes now, he comes as a lion, because he will be able to demonstrate the power of divine energy. At some point we'll do a talk on, because I keep back giving references to some of these ray aspects, 7 rays. Just very briefly, I'll quickly go over them, because just for definition. The first 3 rays are the major rays. The 4th ray is the middle unifying ray to the 3 minor rays. The first 3 rays are the pure will, love, wisdom, that's the 2nd ray. Intelligent activity, that's the 3rd ray. 4th ray is harmony through conflict, which is the ray of art. Fifth ray is the ray of science. Sixth ray is the ray of devotion. Seventh ray is the ray of ceremonial magic. And other departments that come under the ray are business and science of invocation, magic. Actually, that ray is an incarnation right now. The ray of science that had been an incarnation for like 250 years, I think, is going out. And the ray of ceremonial magic. So there's all this talk about magic and every third movie being about magic. And Harry Potter becoming the best-selling book of all time. What's her name? Rowling? She owes it to the incarnation of the seventh ray. If that book was written 50 years ago, it would be about as popular as Enid Blyton's book, which I think are as good as Harry Potter's. Another thing that the Master Jal Kool and some of the esoteric teachings talk about is that the masters are utilizing this time because some cycles are overlapping, creating a tremendous potency of energy. And they're using that time to make special things happen within the laws of karma. So we know, we have heard for the last 30, 40 years that we're getting into the age of Aquarius. That's a 2000 or 2200 year cycle. Or 25, I don't know exactly, but it's a smaller cycle. There's another cycle simultaneously beginning of Aquarius, which is a 25,000 year cycle of Aquarius. And the two cycles coinciding is giving tremendous potency to Aquarius.
Which is talked of about.
Which is about universal brotherhood and a lot of things that Uranus brings, and also blends well with the energy of the seventh ray and of magic. As a subject that you'd have to study a little bit. Aquarius, you can read a lot about Aquarius and find out Uranus is about new inventions and transformational changes and all that. Now, if we read between the lines, many things are happening. Powerful things are happening. Countries that are to play a role, they are being prepared. So much of turmoil in Afghanistan, Pakistan, in the last 20, 30 years is very meaningful. It's like a cleansing going on. Because this energy, the higher energy that comes, before things really get better, things get worse, which was prophesied by Sai Baba in around the 1970s. That before things get better, they will get worse. And that's kind of like that. It's like if you go on a diet of pure organic fruits, suddenly, and from what we from McDonald's, then you're likely to get sick because all the toxins will again be thrown back into the bloodstream. So the cleansing that's going on is kind of like that. And I think with the last cycle of of that cleansing. So I'll give you an example of these, if you really watch and observe. Do you know the story of Malala Yousafzai? No? Pat, how could you not know about that?
It's stuck in my house in Lubbock.
Yeah. Okay, well, let me share with you that story, and it'd be good for you to go and research a little bit about that.
Can you spell that name?
Malala, M-A-L-A-L-A. This was a girl that about 4 years ago, when the Taliban took over Swat Valley in Pakistan, it's beautiful, beautiful mountain valley. I've been there many times. One of the most beautiful places on the earth. They took it over. And they started to do really bad atrocities. They closed down all girls' schools because women have no right to education, things like that. And this girl, you know, this was her biggest thing, was getting her education. Her father was an educator and she was in his school. And she wrote somewhere something, and it got noted, and the BBC employed her, used her, gave her a pen name, and she started writing a regular blog in her own words, English directly. You know, in a little Pakistani school, this girl speaks such decent English, you know. And her, you know, international attention. Everybody was reading it, and she was eventually nominated for an International Peace Prize, and the Pakistani government was so happy and proud of her that they initiated a new award and gave her the first one, called Pakistan's National Peace Award. But about a few months ago, the Taliban decided to kill her, and she was shot at close range, and then the bullet went through her head, through her jaw, but she lived. She was sent to London for treatment, and Pakistani government paid for it and all that, and she lived. Before this whole thing happened, she already was becoming famous, and there were documentaries being made. You know, major CNN was making a documentary on her, and she was talking. And if you go to YouTube, you'll see many of her interviews. She talks with such force about the change. She says, "My father wanted me to be this, or I wanted to be this or that, but now my father has convinced me I should just go into politics and take the work of transforming Pakistan." 13-year-old. Now there's government leaders have sponsored her for a Nobel Peace Prize this year's, and she's set to get it. If she gets it, she's going to certainly be able to play a major role in Pakistan. Somebody so pure and powerful. I gave that example is that she's coming into the limelight on the wave of these energies that are coming into the world. And more of these things will happen. Pakistan, in a way, is a very key country, and Pakistan transforming is you know, affects the whole Islamic world. And we will see more of these things happening, especially this year and onwards. Now we go a little bit into specific areas that we're going to start seeing transformations in. Going back to Jalkul's writings, it says the second coming He points out three things. I'm not remembering the third one. One is to establish right human relations and brotherhood. One is to solve the issue of Israel and Palestine and the Jews. That's how big it is. And why is that so? The reason it's so is that esoterically, the Jews represented the solar plexus energy of the solar logos.
Planetary.
Planetary logos, not the solar logos. Logos, yes. And the coming of Christ, that one of the main works was to raise that energy into the heart chakra, which he himself represented.
Tell him what logos is. I think that was a question. No?
And he just asked if that's what I said.
Yeah, okay. Sorry.
And had the Jews accepted him, that energy would have been raised to the heart chakra. But it didn't happen. And that process, if these two appearances of 2,000 years ago and this one that is imminent, if it's taken in its one unity, it still has to be accomplished. That energy has to be raised into the heart chakra. And part of the turmoil of the world with Israel at its center, it's a representation of that. And I myself had a vision about 7 or 8 months ago in which I saw that the fullness of that light will not be able to come till that is resolved. That is so essential. America has to play a key role in that, because unless we start to see more with detachment and with honesty what involves there in Palestine, that will just delay. It will delay something that is so essential for our planetary transformation.